Hello, welcome to Filbert Flies and to this first look review of GSX for Microsoft Flight Simulator. In this video, I'm going to be taking you through the basics of what GSX does, how you use it, and what my first impressions are of it. I've used GSX since it was first released in P3D, and I would count it as one of the very few truly indispensable add-ons for that sim. I'm keen to see whether the same can be said for the MSFS version. So what is it, first of all? Well, I would describe GSX as the gold standard for realistic airliner ground operations. It allows you to simulate refueling, catering, baggage and cargo loading and unloading, passenger boarding and deboarding complete with animated passengers, realistic marshalling and pushback, and it even allows you to customize your add-on airports with a variety of realistic visual docking guidance systems. It comes with a complete fleet of realistic vehicles, from airstairs and catering vehicles bearing the logos of airlines, handling agents and catering companies from around the world, with the correct vehicles automatically placed at the airports where you would be most likely to find them, to passenger buses and active follow me vehicles which will guide you to a stand of your choice. It will also, should you wish, automatically replace default MSFS jetways with far more realistic models. GSX is a single purchase that includes two products, GSX Pro and GSX World. GSX Pro is the most full-featured but only works on PC. GSX World is a light version, offering Xbox compatibility at the expense of having fewer features. We'll be looking only at the full GSX Pro product in this video. Installation is a breeze thanks to the FS Dream Team Universal Installer. All you have to do is click the Install button and then click the Activate button and input your code. The product comes with a 69-page user manual, which is well worth reading if you want to get the most out of GSX. If, however, you just want to dive in and have a play, then this video should be all you need to get you started. Time to take a look at GSX in action. GSX can work with pretty much any airliner, and it comes with pre-made profiles for all of the default MSFS airliners, including the A32NX mod, the 737, the Fenix A320, and the Mad Dog. I'm going to take you through its features on a few of these, starting with the 737-700. To open GSX, once you've installed it, you go up to the top menu, and you'll have a GSX main menu button. Click on that, and after a moment you will get a menu pop up with labelled Activate Ground Services. So the first thing I want to do is to request boarding. So we'll press this button here.
Boarding requested.
You'll hear a boarding requested message, and you'll get a second menu allowing you to choose your handling operator. We're going to use Avia Partner, so we'll click on that, and you'll notice that a whole bunch of vehicles have spawned around the aircraft, and they'll gradually move into position. So we've got two baggage loaders moving into position on the right side of the aircraft, and we've got two staircases moving into position on the left-hand side. And as you can see, these connect up beautifully. We've got a passenger bus on its way, that's what that last audio announcement was. And before it gets here, we probably ought to open the doors. While we wait for the bus, we'll have a look at what's happening round here. You'll notice that we've got two members of ground staff standing with each baggage loader, and that the baggage loaders have lined up beautifully with the cargo hold entrances. The vehicles all spawn out of sight of the aircraft, and they try and follow vehicle paths if these have been included by scenery developers. If not, they will come along the taxiways. And as you can see, we have two pilots boarding the aircraft, and their animation is pretty blooming good. They do take the steps about 4 at a time, but overall, it's really nice to have animated people. Next, the cabin crew get off the crew bus and make their way to the various entrances. This one was slightly too tall for the aircraft door, as you saw. Our luggage has arrived now, and our passenger bus is tearing across the airport to get the passengers onto our aircraft. Let's have a look at what's happening with the luggage first of all. So you'll notice that the baggage loader actually removes individual items of baggage and places them on the belt up to the aircraft. And the belt itself is animated. It's really incredibly smooth and realistic. You can also configure each individual aircraft to make use of ULDs, the big baggage containers, as opposed to individual pieces of luggage. And I don't know, because I haven't had a chance to explore this yet, but if it's like the P3D version, some aircraft will be configured like this by default. While we've been watching the baggage loading taking place, the passenger bus has showed up and the passengers are boarding. You can change the speed at which they board in the config options, which we will come to a little bit later on. One of the exciting new features in the MSFS version of GSX is that the program will actually import the number of passengers from your most recent SimBrief flight plan. So there's no more estimating or anything like that. You'll get an accurate number of passengers boarding each time. Depending on the number of passengers, you might get more than one passenger bus arriving. Now, much like the P3D version, these come one at a time for some reason. So there can be a bit of a wait for all the buses to arrive and all of your passengers to board. For this second busload of passengers, because they all rushed out the bus rather too quickly for my liking, I have turned the passenger density down from very dense to normal in the settings, and I'll show you now how you do that. So if we go back to the GSX menu option, main menu, then additional services, and then GSX settings, it'll bring up this window here. And under timings, you can adjust the passenger density here, as well as speeding up your refueling if you don't want to hang around for a realistic length of time, and various other things. So what else can we do with GSX while we're on the ground before departure? Well, we can request refueling, which is generally a good idea to do before you start boarding passengers, but it's your choice. And you can also request the catering service, so let's take a look at that now. Again, you can choose a catering operator. Let's go with Aramark.
Vehicles are on their way.
And they should be here before long. And here they are, as beautifully animated as all the vehicles. So they'll raise up, and the platform will extend towards the door. So we'll open both of the right-hand doors. Oh, in fact, these doors open automatically, which is nice. And as you can see, the catering staff move their trolleys into the aircraft and bring the old empty ones out. On closer inspection, you will notice that the platform on these catering vehicles is slightly too high, and it's gone through the door, and there's a very big step down once you get inside the aircraft. You'll also notice that the same is true for the air stairs on the other side, which would explain why that cabin crew member banged her head. Now, FS Dream Team said in their email to me that GSX was configured to work with the PMDG 737 and the A32NX and the Fenix by default, but obviously they haven't quite got the heights right here. I hope this is something that will be fixed by the time GSX is on general release. If it's not, you can customize these aircraft yourself and you can set heights and door positions and things like that, but it would be nice, certainly for the most popular aircraft, if you didn't have to do this. Now, I'm conscious that we're doing things in a slightly strange order in this video. Normally, of course, you would get the catering and the refueling done before the passenger boarding, but I wanted to start with the big ticket items. I personally find the passenger boarding and the baggage loading the most exciting parts of GSX. Nonetheless, we do need some fuel, so let's take a look at how we do that. So we'll open the GSX menu again, and we will choose Request Refueling. Now, GSX is aware that these catering vehicles are here and that there isn't any room for a fuel tanker at the same time, so it will always wait until there is space for the next vehicle to come before it arrives. Here's a little tip for you. If ever it feels like a particular vehicle has finished what it's doing but it's not going anywhere, it's worth opening the GSX menu to see if it's waiting for you to do something. So as you can see here, it says, waiting for your action, close right entry aft. Now, I don't know why we need to close this ourselves when it was able to open it automatically, but apparently we do. So, not a problem. We'll go into the cockpit, we'll go back to the doors page, and we'll close both the forward and aft doors on the right. And once they're closed, the vehicles will retract their ramps and they will get out of the way.
Fuel truck is in position. Please use your airplane fuel system to set the desired fuel quantity.
And after a wait of 2 or 3 minutes, the fuel truck has arrived. And as you would have heard the announcement say, we need to use our aircraft fueling system to set the quantity we want. Now, the GSX manual says that for aircraft that support progressive refueling, like the PMDG 737, GSX will work alongside this to refuel your aircraft at a realistic speed. However, the detailed instructions it includes for how to do this specifically on the PMDG 737 do not correspond to the options I have in the aircraft. It makes reference to a ground operations screen on the FMS, which doesn't exist. We have ground services, but we don't have ground operations. We can't choose a turn type, which is what it says you should do. And the only way that you can get the refueling to start progressively, as far as I can tell, is by using PMDG's own fuel truck, which obviously we don't really want. But let's click the request button and see what happens. So as you can see, the PMDG fuel truck has arrived. I've clicked start refueling in the cockpit, and the PMDG fuel truck does appear to be progressively refueling the aircraft, but the GSX one isn't doing anything. So either I've missed something obvious and I'm being stupid, or this isn't working as intended at the moment.
Fuel truck is in position.
So I've jumped into the Fenix A320 to have a look at how progressive refueling works with that. There are no instructions in the manual specific to the Fenix, so it'll be a little bit of trial and error, but we'll see how we get on. The first thing to note is that unlike the 737, the fuel tanker has driven underneath the airplane's wing, and we have a worker connecting the fuel hoses to the wing. And the animation is absolutely beautiful here.
Please use your airplane fuel system to set the desired fuel quantity.
So we've got that same message, so let's get on board. The only way that I know of progressively refueling the Fenix A320 is through this load aircraft button. So we currently have just under 2 tons in the tanks. We want just under 5 tons for our flight plan. So let's click load aircraft and see what happens. And we'll do it in real time. And you can see that the quantity is going up there, and the quantity is going up out here as well. So that's fantastic. That is working really well. I do slightly wish that the Fenix had an option to just load fuel rather than doing your passengers at the same time, but at least we can see the progressive refueling in action. The GSX manual does explain how you can always use progressive refueling even if the aircraft doesn't support it by choosing that option in the settings. So that might be something that's worth looking at for use with the PMDG 737 and other aircraft. Basically what it'll do is it will just allow you to set your total fuel quantity, and it will simulate roughly the time that should take to load. It's probably beyond the scope of this video to show you it, but we will look at it in streams in the future. And as the refueling finishes, you will see the total fuel bill come up on the display here, which is really cool, and it actually gets live prices from the internet, which is a feature that didn't exist in P3D at all. Really, really cool. And you can see that the hoses have been detached, the lift has been lowered, and the fuel tanker is making its way away from the aircraft. So there you are, that is a quick overview of GSX's pre-departure ground service functionality. Let's hop back into the PMDG 737 now and take a look at how it handles a pushback. So the first thing you need to make sure of is that your parking brake is set, your chocks are removed, and all your doors are closed. I've just done that. If we open the GSX menu now and go to prepare for pushback and departure. So the first thing that happens is this. The dispatcher will walk over towards your aircraft.
Hello, Captain. We are ready for pushback.
Give you a little wave and say hello. And one of the cool things about GSX is that in most parts of the world, the ground crew who you talk to will have appropriate accents automatically. So he's going to come over now, and he is going to...
Departure check completed. Bypass pin inserted.
Insert the bypass pin. Unfortunately, he is going to walk through the aircraft to do this. Now our pushback tug is going to drive over. And he's going to connect it up, and it's actually animated. You can see exactly what he's doing, which still amazes me, even though it's been available in P3D for a long time. And now the GSX main menu pops up again, and we have a choice of how we want to push back. Now, unlike any other pushback add-on, GSX knows where the taxiway center lines are. So normally, for I'd say 85% of pushbacks, choosing nose right tail left or nose left tail right is sufficient. You can also do your own custom pushbacks using QuickEdit pushback, which can then be saved for use in future. Or of course you can do a straight pushback with a manual stop. So we're going to choose for now. Sometimes after a pause the GSX menu will disappear, so we'll just bring that back up again. And we'll go to continue pushback. For now, as I was saying, we're going to choose nose right, tail left.
Release parking brakes.
So we'll release our parking brakes.
Commencing push. All engines clear, start at will.
And away we go. And of course we would start our engines during this and get ready for the taxi, but it's not something we need to do for the purposes of this video.
Set parking brakes.
So we'll set the parking brakes. And there we are, one pretty perfect pushback right onto the taxiway centre line. Now from this stand, ideally we would have wanted to stop a little bit sooner, I would say. We're just about alright, but I imagine anyone behind these windows might have been getting a little bit worried. Now GSX does have an option while you're being pushed back to stop here and complete the pushback. So if you're getting a bit close to something, you can do that. And as I said earlier, you can of course customize the pushbacks and decide exactly where you stop, much like you can do with toolbar pushback.
Waiting your confirmation for a good engine start.
So this is something that you can change in the options if you don't want them to wait for confirmation of good engine start. But for now, we'll just say stop here and complete pushback.
Cockpit to ground. We have a good engine start. You can disconnect.
And he'll disconnect the equipment, give you a wave, and you can be on your way. This is unfortunate. There's no two ways about it.
Unlock Parking.
It would be much more impressive if he didn't walk through the aircraft. But still, I think you'll agree, by far the best pushback tool we have for MSFS, quite aside from any of its other features.
Tow track disconnected, bypass pin removed. Left is clear, right is clear.
Not quite true, but it will be clear soon. And there's his wave to say that we are good to taxi. I've hopped over to Frankfurt now, firstly to have a look at how well the vehicles interact with the Fenix, and I'm pleased to say that these catering vehicles are at the right height now for this aircraft, and also to show you the replacement jetways. Now, I haven't had to do anything other than install GSX, this has all been done by default, and you can see that the rather ugly default jetways have been replaced by these rather nice glass ones, complete with Deutsche Bank advertising on the side of them. Now, Frankfurt is not Asobo's finest work, I think you'll agree, but this certainly does make it look a little better. We're also going to have a look at the QuickEdit pushback feature, but first of all, I have to show you what happens when you board through a jetway like this. So we'll open the GSX menu again, and we will say request boarding. You'll notice that the jetway automatically connects to the aircraft. And unfortunately goes rather far through the aircraft's skin. However, once it's connected, it looks pretty good. And you can actually see the pilots and later the passengers walking down the jetway and onto the aircraft, which is really nice. And the fuel truck has arrived and has connected to the ground bowser. You'll also get the opportunity to see the containers being loaded, which is the default behaviour for this aircraft. And here we have our first container being loaded onto the aircraft. Beautiful animation of the scissor lift, the containers and the people.
Please use your airplane fuel system to set the desired fuel quantity.
So let's have a look at using QuickEdit pushback to get pushback. So over to the GSX menu again. Prepare for pushback and departure. Give it a minute to think, and for the jetway to move away. And you can see our dispatcher walking over to get pushback underway.
Hello, Captain. We are ready for pushback.
And you can see that the dispatcher actually fits underneath the aircraft here.
Completed. Bypass pin inserted.
That's the beauty of the A320, I suppose. People can fit underneath it. So the pushback tug is driving up, and as you can see, it's a different type of pushback tug this time. And the menu will pop up for us to choose QuickEdit pushback. Now, I won't lie to you, the QuickEdit pushback interface is slightly intimidating. It was in P3D and it is in MSFS. However, the flip side of that is that it is very powerful. This is roughly what you'll see when you first enter QuickEdit pushback mode. You'll have a number of waypoints, so we've got 1 and 2 just underneath the plane here, and we have our endpoint here. Now to cycle between these, you need to use F1 and F4. So that is waypoint 2 selected, that is waypoint 1 selected. So let's start by selecting our endpoint and adjusting it. We move it left and right with the arrow keys, and you can hold down left shift to speed this up. So just because it will be fun, we're going to push all the way back onto this main taxiway, facing in the direction that the camera's pointing now. So I want to go here, but further back, so I'm using left shift and the back arrow, or the down arrow I should say, and we'll stick it somewhere like here. We're going to use number pad 1 to spin the plane around, because that's the direction we want to be pointing in. We're now going to look at our intermediate waypoints. So we're going to put waypoint 1, I've just pressed F4 to select that, somewhere out here. Again, shift and the down arrow key. Let's stick that there. We'll press F4 to select the second waypoint and move that. Shift and the down arrow. And we're going to put that somewhere on this taxi line. The beauty of this is that you can use the drone mode while you're doing it to get a good view of what you're up to. And we probably want another waypoint. So to insert a new waypoint, we need to choose where we're going to insert it before. So we want to select the plane, or our end position, so we'll press F4 to do that. And then we'll press F6 to create a new waypoint, which should be labelled 3. And it is, and that is now automatically selected. So let's get that where we want it. In fact, it's probably roughly in the right place already, I should say. And you can see that our path is sort of smoothing its way between those waypoints. So if we wanted to put it further out, then that would adjust our path a little bit, which is shown by this yellow line. That's a little bit crazy, but this is a proof of concept rather than a beautiful pushback curve that I'm creating here. That will do us. We'll now press the enter key.
Exiting from editing mode.
Exiting from editing
Release
mode.
parking brakes.
And we are good to go. So let's get back in the cockpit and we'll release the parking brakes.
Commencing push.
And we'll see how it does.
All engines clear. Start at will.
Again, I'm not going to bother starting the engines because I'm not going anywhere after this. As I said earlier, very much worth reading the manual or having it on hand when you want to do this sort of thing. It's the sort of thing that takes a bit of practice to get used to, but as I said, is a very, very powerful and useful feature.
Set parking brake.
Right, we'll set the parking brakes.
Waiting your confirmation for good engine start.
And we'll ignore the fact that we have a different dispatcher and a different type of pushback tug, because I definitely didn't have to do this twice to avoid messing it up. So there we are, that is QuickEdit Pushback in a nutshell. Let's move on now to having a look at what happens when you arrive at an airport. So for the purposes of this next bit, we're going to pretend that I've just vacated runway 7 at Aldergrove and I have no idea how to get to my stand. GSX can help us out by sending a follow me vehicle. So we'll open the main menu again and we need to decide where we're going. It'll tell you where there are suitable parking stands for your aircraft. Here we can see that option 7 is parking, main parking, with 15 suitable places. We'll go to the next page and we'll choose stand 14. Here we have the option to request a follow me vehicle. We're going to choose yes, but even if you don't want to follow me, you should still go through this process and just choose no, because that will spawn a marshaller and various vehicles at your gate. So having clicked yes, a follow me vehicle is inbound and it will take a little while to get to us. And here he is. He's just nipped along the taxiway, spun round in front of us and is driving through our engine to get in position. Again, very much the same way these vehicles behaved in P3D, unfortunately. However, he is nonetheless useful. He's going across the grass here. Okay, that's all right. We can still follow him. Now, the follow me vehicles don't know on complex airports which way people normally taxi. They don't know about specific airport operations, but they will get you to your stand. And they will adjust their speed a little bit to match yours, but they don't like it if you go too fast. If you get too close to them, they will decide it's too dangerous and drive off and leave you hanging. I mean, personally, I think we could go a little bit faster than 18 knots, but you know. If I stop, he should also stop. And he has. And if you go the wrong way and stop, usually they will come back round and pick you up. Don't ask me why he did that, rather than following the taxiway centre line. But anyway, he's worked it out now, and he is turning into stand 14. So we'll turn our taxi light off. And you can see that we've got air stairs waiting for us already, properly liveried with EasyJet livery. And we have a marshal awaiting as well. And he wants us to go left a bit. It's a pity he's hiding behind that sign, isn't it? And there we are. Yes, 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 I've stopped. I've stopped. Don't panic. And we're clear to cut our engines. External power is available, so we'll do that. And as you will see, he's not done the best job of parking us. Obviously, this is a generic system that works with airports all around the world. You can customize your parking positions to get the marshallers to stop you in exactly the right point for your aircraft. It's beyond the scope of this video. I may do one on it at a later date. But one of the other great things about GSX is that people can make profiles for an individual airport and share them. And there were loads of those for the P3D version. I don't doubt that there will also be loads of those for MSFS before too long. So there you are, follow me car, marshaller, and to deboard it's much the same process
you
as
need to set parking brakes
when
to
we
request
boarded.
ground services.
That's a bit naughty. Have I not set my parking brake? I thought I had. Let's try that again.
You need to set parking brakes to request ground services.
Yeah, that's not very good. I have clearly got my parking brake set. GSX is not recognising it. What about if I take it off?
You need to set parking brakes to request ground services.
So we can't get ground services because it doesn't know our parking brake is set. So that is a bug. That is the first proper bug that I've encountered with this. Quite a big one, to be honest with you. So yes, after filming that section, I completely uninstalled and then reinstalled the A32NX, but to no avail. Wherever I spawn in whichever livery, it does not recognise that my parking brake's set, and therefore I can't use GSX ground services. It would be a real shame if this product was released unable to work with the A32NX, which I'm sure must still be the most popular airliner in the sim. Anyway, I have got back into the Fenix where we left off in the Flybywire, and I'm going to show you how to do your deboarding. Couldn't be simpler really, you could probably guess it yourself, but for the sake of completeness, here we go. GSX menu, and then request deboarding. Deboarding requested. And we'll have stairs moving into position. We'll get the doors open. And being a remote stand, before too long, a bus will come to take our passengers off to the terminal. There's one more thing I want to show you very quickly before we call it a day, and that is how easy it is to add a VDGS system to an airport should you want to. So I'm at Las Vegas McCarran here at gate Delta 51, and I have no idea if they use safedocks here. I've no idea at all. They may just use marshallers, but it's an example. So we open the GSX menu, go to customize this parking position, and by default, all parking positions will come with a marshaller. Now, if we want a VDGS system instead, we can just choose the type we'd like from this list. So I am going to go for a safedock T2S24 ground pole grey. Click on that, click apply, close that window, and lo and behold, we have a VDGS system there. And you can, if you like, select multiple gates and add exactly the same system to all of them. Also, you remember I mentioned earlier about the number of profiles there are for GSX for P3D and how I'm sure they will come to MSFS. This is the sort of thing people love doing, and I'm sure it won't be long before the most popular airports all have accurate VDGS systems installed. Let's see it in action. So just like we did when we requested the Follow Me vehicle, we're going to open the GSX menu. We're going to find the right parking position, so Gate Delta, click through to Gate Delta 51, and as you can see it's listed now as having a safe dock, so we'll select that. We don't need a Follow Me this time, and all we need to do is turn in onto stand. You can see we've got Southwest liveried vehicles all around us, and a working safe dock, showing us our aircraft type B737 and giving us a line to follow. Beautifully clear, easy to read, counting down the distance to go at the top there, and there's our stop. Set the parking brakes. It is saying too far. It is saying too far, but you get the point. And you can see that it has parked us bang on the line and in a very accurate stopping position as well. So there's loads you can do with customizing airport parking positions. You can adjust exactly where you're stopping for each aircraft type. You can choose from multiple different types of safe dock. You can choose how wide the position is, as in how big an aircraft it can take. Loads of options, too many to go through on this video, but that, I hope, is a good overview of what GSX brings to the sim. So, after 4 hours of playing around with it, what do I think of GSX for MSFS? Overall, it's great. It does everything the P3D version does and more, and it brings a whole new level of immersion to MSFS. There are one or two disappointments, however. I was really hoping some of the little niggles from the P3D version might have been ironed out. Vehicles driving through planes, for example, having to wait for one passenger bus to arrive, disembark and drive off again before the next one arrives. The issue with it not recognising that the parking brake was applied in the Flybywire A32NX and therefore failing to work at all is fairly major, as I imagine this is still the most commonly flown aircraft in the sim. I've also had some issues with COU ATL, the external app that powers GSX, failing to initialise properly and needing a restart. So it's fair to say it's a little bit clunkier and a little bit buggier than I'd hoped. It's early days though, and this is a pre-release version. I know I'd pay for it in its current form because it's a fantastic add-on, and I think you'll be pleased with it if you buy it too. We just need to hope that the kinks are ironed out sooner rather than later. To see more of GSX in action, and perhaps a few deeper dives into its functionality, stay tuned over here on YouTube, and also come and follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/philbertflies, which is where I do most of my streaming these days. If you found this video useful, I'd really appreciate a sub and a like. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye bye.